Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you the morning after what you'd probably describe as a frustrating night for Arsenal in the Europa League, drawing 1-1 with Benfica in Rome. It was a game, it was a decent enough performance, I thought, from Arsenal. Not spectacular by any means, not up to like the Leeds performance or anything like that, but it was still a decent performance against, what was looking on paper like a tricky European team. They did easily enough to win the game, but they just had one of those nights, or specifically Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang had one of those nights in front of goal where he couldn't take the chances that came his way, and Arsenal nearly ended up paying by falling to a defeat. Fortunately, they had Bukayo Saka on hand to pop up with that equaliser to ensure they don't go into the second leg with a deficit to overturn. But they should have been much, much more. 1-1 isn't the worst results when you... at any time in a European competition in a knockout stage when you're in the first leg away from home. But the fact that this is very different, obviously they're not going to be playing the second leg at the Emirates, kind of negates that sort of home and away advantage. And yeah, it should have been much, much more for Arsenal. They played well enough to win that game fairly comfortably. Benfica were there for the taking. It was pretty clear. I thought Benfica were fairly negative. They were clearly worried about Arsenal and their movement and their pace up front. They went with three at the back to try and nullify that, but Arsenal still cut them open enough times to finish the job and ensure they went into that second leg pretty much with it already done, barring a catastrophe. But Aubameyang just had one of those nights, and it was really frustrating. The fact it came straight off the back of that hat-trick against Leeds when you thought his confidence would be right up, that you'd have backed him to walk away with another couple of goals last night at least, probably another hat-trick in fact, and he missed all three big opportunities he came his way. The one in the first half was an absolute shocker, put on a plate for him by Bellerin. The fact he didn't even hit the target, I'm not sure why he waited for it to roll across onto his left foot. He should have just hit it first time with his right foot as he came onto it. But he let it roll across his body, and I thought the finish was tougher then by doing that. But even so, you just got to score that, and you've got to at least hit the target. To put it wide was a real shock. It was one of those moments when you kind of had to do a double take and think, hold on, is that not gone in? It was such a surprise that he'd missed it. And at that stage, I thought Arsenal had started pretty well, and if they'd have gone on taking the lead there, I think they would have gone on won that game fairly comfortably. But instead, it just set the wheels in motion, I thought. As soon as that happened, I think we all thought it, and it must happen to the players as well. You start thinking, oh no, is it going to be one of those nights? And that's kind of how it proved. Obviously, they fell behind to a penalty. It looked like the only way Benfica was going to score was something like that, a set piece, and Emile Smith-Rowe punished for his arm was up in the air. I think probably it was a penalty, maybe it's a little bit soft. I think it was the decision. If the referee hadn't given it, I don't think VAR would have given it. But the fact the referee did give it, VAR weren't going to overturn it. And so, 1-0 down. And fair play to Arsenal. They recovered well, got themselves back level straight away with that Saka goal. And I'll get onto Saka in a little bit because he's just such an amazing talent. But then they had the chance again. Aubameyang, brilliant ball by Odegaard, set Aubameyang through, and you thought, stick this one away, make up for that miss in the first half, and he put that one wide. And then again, he was played through. Perfect first touch on his right foot. You just thought, shoot on your left, one-on-one, but I think his confidence was so shot at that point. He tried to cut inside on his right, and the chance had gone because the defender came back and cleared it. And it was just one of those nights. He's come out and apologised for it on social media. I'm sure you've seen it. He admitted he should have scored at least a couple of goals. But look, it happens, and it is frustrating for Arsenal because they should have been going back to London now, knowing they've pretty much got one foot in the last 16, and with a relatively comfortable lead to protect in the second leg. But instead, it's very much all to play for. 1-1 going into the game in Athens next week, and considering it was sandwiched between Man City this weekend and Leicester next weekend, I think Arteta really knew how important last night was. That's why he went with the same team that beat Leeds. First time he's ever named an unchanged side in his managerial career. I think it's the first time Arsenal named an unchanged side since September 2018. So you could tell he was taking it seriously. He wanted to try and put the game to bed early, and it hasn't happened. It hasn't materialised like that, and it is frustrating. He said it after the game. He said, look, I think we have to leave the stadium with much more than what we have. Everything is completely open now, and next Thursday we had some positives to take from the game because we dominated, and we had patches of really good moments where we created big chances, but we weren't ruthless enough in the opponent's box. And the disappointing thing is obviously the way that we conceded the goal. On Aubameyang, and Aubameyangs misses. He says, look, well, these things happen. He was at the end of the biggest chances we had. He was a real threat. That's why we played him again today against the opponent with a defensive line that they propose all the time. He was unlucky, of course, not to score 2 or 3 tonight, because in normal circumstances that would have been the case. And there's no doubt about it, it would have been the case. It was just one of those nights when it didn't happen for Aubameyang, and unfortunately that has meant that Arsenal now have it all to do still in the second leg. And yeah, a frustrating night. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know on the comments below. Was it a poor... See, I don't think... I've seen a lot of people saying it was a poor performance. I don't think it was a poor performance. Look, Benfica are no mugs, and I thought Arsenal controlled that game. They did more than enough to win it. If Aubameyang sticks those chances away and Arsenal win 2 or 3-0, it's a perfect away performance in Europe, but just didn't quite happen like that, unfortunately. I just wanted to talk about Bukayo Saka now. I mean, I've spoken a lot about him so far this season, unsurprisingly, given his performances. But what a player Arsenal have got on their hands in Bukayo Saka. 10 goal involvements now. Only Aubameyang, I think, it's got 12, and Lacazette 13. I've got more than him this season. Just remember, he's 19 years old, this kid. He's already an absolute leader. He was on hand to score the goal yesterday. Yes, it was a tap-in, but he still had to be in the right place at the right time to do it. And he's such a leader. He's 19 years old. You just forget about how young he is now. He's so important. I mean, he's arguably Arsenal's best player. In fact, I think he probably is Arsenal's best player. Certainly this season he's been Arsenal's best player. Doesn't matter where you play him, right wing, left back, number 10. He's always the man involved. He's always the person making things happen. And he's just absolutely sensational. Arsenal are so lucky to have him. He's a once in a sort of generation type talent who comes through from the academy. We saw it at Jack Wilshere, and unfortunately injuries just absolutely halted Jack Wilshere in his tracks. I mean, I know people now look back on him and think, he didn't achieve what he should have achieved, and that's probably right because of the injuries, but you've got to remember what Wilshere was like when he came through. He was absolutely sensational. I've not seen, apart from Fabregas, I've not seen someone come through like Wilshere when he first came into that team. But Saka is... he's at that level. He's so good, and it was just brilliant again watching him last night. And the issue for Arsenal now is that he's just too important to leave out. And when you're only 19, that is an issue, because you need to, your body, you're still growing. You got to manage him, and it's difficult, because if you ever leave Saka out of the team, you're making Arsenal a much weaker proposition. And Mikel Arteta knows that. He says, look, he's in a great moment at the moment, full of confidence. He's been really important in recent results. His form is probably the highest it's been since I've been here. He's really consistent. He needs to keep going and doing what he's doing, because he's a big part of the team. I think we have to protect him and keep expectations where they should be, but I'm not going to put a break in his development or how much he can do week in, week out. We have to support him, give him the best possible advice all the time, and then manage his minutes so he can maintain that level. And that's the issue, managing those minutes, because he's so important. You don't want to manage those minutes because you want him playing all the time, but there's got to be a time. I think you're going to have to start resting Bukayo Saka, and he's getting a lot of treatment now as well. Teams are singling him out. They know how important he is. We saw he get kicked off the park against Aston Villa at Villa Park. It happened again against Leeds. Last night he was getting targeted. Vertonghen took him down early on a few times. Opposition teams know how important Bukayo Saka is not to Arsenal now, and he's got a big target on his head. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Mikel Arteta manages in between now and the end of the season, because you've got to... It is that difficult situation of knowing that he's almost your most valuable, most important player, but he's also only 19, and you've got to, try and make sure that he doesn't break down or anything like that. And he said that, he was asked the question afterwards, said, look, is managing his minutes a real challenge? And he said it is at the moment, because he's a real threat. He's involved in a lot of goals all the time, and the consistency of his performances make him a starter, obviously. So it's a fine balance, but at the same time, he's 19 years old, and we have to protect him. So some really difficult moments for Arteta coming up. And, I look ahead to the Man City game at the weekend, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I do wonder, is that a game you're going to see Saka rested? Are we going to see quite a lot of changes for that one? The fact that he went full strength on Thursday night, playing the same team he did against Leeds, you'd expect there are going to be changes on Sunday against Manchester City. I agree with it as well. I think there should be. I think these two Benfica games are more important than that Man City game. So if you're going to make changes in one of them, you look at the game against City at the Emirates. Play Pepe, play Martinelli, play Willian even, play Mohamed El Neni bring back Rob Holding for that one. You rotate for those ones, freshen things up, because next Thursday night's game against Benfica is absolutely huge now, especially with the tie only at 1-1. So you look at the likes of Saka and think, is this the game that you rest him? You let those legs have a little bit of a rest, and make sure you're ready to go again against Benfica in Athens. On Martin Odegaard, I wanted to quickly talk about Martin Odegaard, what a player he is as well. He was one of the bright spots yesterday. That fantastic pass through for Cedric for Bukayo Saka's goal, absolutely brilliant. He was playing in the number 10 role yesterday, again with Smith Rowe out wide, and he's really settled in well, Odegaard. He's not really needed any time to adapt to the pace of things. We saw him impress in the Premier League against Leeds. He stepped up in the Europa League last night and played very, very, very well. Like I said, that pass for Cedric for Saka's goal was brilliant. The one he played through for Aubameyangs for the chance that Aubameyang missed in the second half as well. He's got a real eye for it, Odegaard. And you think he's only been here a couple of weeks. He's still settling in. He's still settling into his new surroundings, understanding his teammates. But, Arsenal fans should be very, very excited about Martin Odegaard between now and the end of the season, because what we've seen already suggests that Arsenal have got a very, very good player on their hands. And, he's going to be very, very exciting to watch between now and the end of the season. It'll be interesting again to see that little battle, is that front three behind Aubameyang now that he played last night. So Smith Rowe on the left, Odegaard number 10, Saka on the right. Is that what Mikel Arteta now views as his first choice going forward over the second half of the season? Or are we going to see one of the wingers come back, Pepe over on the left perhaps, and Odegaard and Smith Rowe battling for the number 10 role? It was, certainly going to be interesting to see, but Odegaard looks like a very, very exciting addition. We all knew it when he arrived. We know his talent. We've seen what he did for Sociedad. But the way he's settled in and the form he's hitting already for Arsenal suggests that the next few months are going to be a lot of fun watching him in this Arsenal team. Right, wanted to quickly talk about my player ratings, because I didn't have time to do them last night after the game, obviously. So I just want to quickly rattle through them for anyone who cares. Bernd Leno didn't really have anything to do, made a couple of comfortable saves, didn't save the penalty, still probably could have saved it because it wasn't right in the corner, but I think he was standing up to see where the keeper, see where Pitsy was putting it, rather than choosing a corner and diving early. If he'd have dived early, I think he saves it, but he clearly he wasn't sure if Pitsy was going to go down the middle, so he stood his ground a little bit, and because he did that, he just couldn't reach it. But fairly solid from Leno. I thought he did well with crosses and things like that when he needed to. So Bernd Leno gets a 6 from me. Gabriel, I thought it was a really positive performance from Gabriel, actually. He's looked pretty shaky for a while now before his injury, and even after he's come back from injury, but I thought he was good last night. He was on the ball all the time as well. He had 102 passes. That was more than anyone else. 88 of those were successful. That's at 86% passing accuracy. And yeah, he started to show signs of looking back to that sort of defender that we saw in the first few months of his Arsenal career before he had his first real stutter. So Gabriel's going to get a 7. I thought Luiz as well. The two of them played pretty well together. Luiz is going to get a 7 from me. I thought they were solid. Didn't really get caused any problems by Benfica. Obviously, the only goal came from that penalty from the Smith Rowe handball. Cedric, mixed afternoon for Cedric. Obviously, he got the assist, which was really good. It was a lovely little pass in. Made sure he picked out Saka, which was decent. But he also was pretty wasteful at some times as well, going down the left. Kieran Tierney came back on in the second half, and that's a big boost for Arsenal. Cedric's done a decent job there, but there's no doubt Arsenal a much better side with Kieran Tierney in the team. So Cedric, I'm going to give a 6. Bellerin, I'm going to give a I was going to say 5, but maybe I'll give him a 6. I thought he was poor at times in the first half. His distribution was poor. Going forward, he's a bit just didn't make the right option, but he did play in that perfect pass for Aubameyang, which should have been tucked away to make it 1-0. So I'm going to give Bellerin a 6. Xhaka was fairly solid, but I thought Dani Ceballos was the best of the two midfielders for Arsenal. I'm going to give Dani a 7. I'm going to give Granit Xhaka a 6. I thought Ceballos was good, really good, industrious, worked really hard, won the ball back at times, looked to get forward, did some really nice turns. So I'm going to give Dani Ceballos a 7. Man of the match for me, Martin Odegaard. I thought he was great, just looked really lively, always quality when he was on the ball. Key to the equaliser, should have set up the winner, but Aubameyang missed it. So Odegaard for me gets an 8. Bukayo Saka going to give a 7. Smith Rowe struggled a little bit. I'm going to give Smith Rowe a 6. And up front, Aubameyang, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give a 4 because he just didn't do what he was on the pitch to do. He should have scored. Really wasteful. We worked pretty hard. Didn't stop trying. He didn't let the misses get him down. He kept making the runs, but unfortunately it was just a night to forget for him in front of goal. So I'm going to give him a 4. For me, the substitutes who came on, tough to really mark because they didn't really get involved. I mean, Willian had 1 touch, I think, when he came on for the last minute. El Neni and Martinelli had 3 touches, so there's no way you can really give a mark for them. Kieran Tierney got the longest of the lot, obviously working his way back to full fitness. A couple of poor balls in from Tierney, but tough to really mark him. If I would do it, it'd just have to be a 5 or something like that, just because he wasn't really too involved in the game. And same with Pepe when he came on, just couldn't really get involved in anything. 8 touches, 8 passes, 7 of them were successful. So it was just not really the night for Pepe to make a difference off the bench. So man of the match for me, Martin Odegaard. Shouts for Bukayo, Saka and Danny Sabbas as well, who I thought had very decent afternoons. Right, before I go, a little bit of sort of team news. Look ahead to the Man City game. Our team news is looking relatively good as well. Little bit of a knock for Smith Rowe yesterday, but he should be fine. I do think that we're going to see changes for this one against Manchester City. I think, like I said earlier, the likes of Pepe will come in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mohamed El Neni. I think Rob Holding will come back. I think Kieran Tierney might well start that one to try and get sort of 60 minutes in his legs ahead of the game on Thursday night. Lacazette, I expect, will come in and get a game up front. Martinelli might well start as well. So I think we're going to see some big changes, not because of injuries, but just for resting players ahead of Thursday night's game. Obviously, Thomas Partey is a big one. We haven't had an update from Arsenal yet, but from what I understand, he certainly won't be making it for the weekend. He's doing pretty well. He is training on his own at the moment, but he hasn't started training with a group, so he's not going to make it for Sunday's game. I'm told it's probably unlikely he'll make it for Benfica for the away game as well. And if there will be a sort of looking towards a match, it could well be Leicester for Thomas Partey's return. So looking unlikely for the Benfica second leg, but it's certainly going to come too early for him today again. On Sunday against Manchester City, which is a blow because we all want Thomas Partey back as soon as possible. But when he does come back, he needs to be fit. So you don't want to take any risks with a player like Thomas. Right, that's about it for today. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Appreciate it as always. I will try and pop on tomorrow if I can to do a little video looking at the head with more focus to the Manchester City game, give my predicted 11, things like that. But please do head over to my social media feed to make sure you keep up to date with everything that goes on with Arsenal today. It'll all be on goal.com as well. And enjoy the rest of your Friday, everyone. Enjoy your weekend if I don't pop on tomorrow. And I'll see you at the Emirates on Sunday.